Hey Google, stop music. All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Black Man's Thoughts. And I'd like to appreciate, all the new subscribers out there. Appreciate all the people who've commented, who've shared, who just you know appreciated this journey. We still at the beginning. We still trying to critique it, make it better, make it more um make it more Raven like, make it more Alpha Man, make it more just make it more family. In the sense of us. You know what I mean? Of getting together and talking and listening. We're just trying to tinker it to how this channel is going to go. You know, and first and foremost, we want to give all praise and honor to the Creator. Me and my family we're healthy. We had a great Shabbat. We got Pesach, we got Passover coming up, and I'm excited about it. The kids is excited about it. So, I'm we're real happy, man. This is some unprecedented times that we've haven't experienced like this in this particular country, man. So we all on pins and needles to see how it's going to go. Again, this is Black Man's Thoughts, man. We're gonna talk. We're gonna do what we do, and you know what I mean. This is the home of the Raven Station. This is also the home of Black News, the home of talking about alpha male, and other things besides Ravens, man. But y'all see it. Like I said, man, I'm in this little apartment, so bear with us. I'm trying to get this thing going. I'm really trying to get this thing going, and in this, with your help, I'm growing. I'm building. I'm starting to interact with y'all. I can't wait till I have some. Have some chats. You know what I mean? So I'm excited. You know what I mean? We got some topics that we definitely gonna hit up. Uh, you know, we got some topics we're gonna hit up tonight. So I'm excited about what's going on, man. So, again, I thank y'all for joining us. Godson, salute to you. You know what I mean? Appreciate you, man. Um, I hope you staying safe, you staying quarantined, you staying I know the stores is it's kind of hectic trying to get certain things like toilet paper and meat. That's my bully over there. My wife trying to keep him quiet, but that's my bully barking. But it's kind of hectic going to these stores, man. So y'all stay safe out there, man. So hey, let's jump right into it, man. Let's jump right into it. Fox Sport, April 3rd. Fox Sports on April 3rd, an interview with Mark Ingram. They asked him about Antonio Brown. Now, we just had this conversation about Antonio Brown. Hell yeah, I want Antonio Brown. It makes our offense so unpredictable. People talking about Antonio Brown being unpredictable, but who would you cover? We discussed this last episode. Who would you cover? Would you double team Hollywood? Would you double team Andrews, knowing that, you know what I mean, that that Lamar Jackson that's his number one go-to? Or do you have to put your number one cover cornerback on Antonio Brown? Either way, Hollywood or Antonio Brown is going to chew your number two up. He's going to chew him up like gristle and spit him out. You know what I mean? He's going to tear him up. He's going to tear up the tight end. He's going to work that middle. You got Snead. You got Andrews. Who are you going to cover? Now you get to the point where now I think you have a better, more dynamic offense than the Chiefs. I may be pushing. I may get some blowback from this, but if we mess around and get Antonio Brown, I think Antonio Brown and Hollywood is a more dynamic duo than Sammy Watkins and what's the guy over for the Chiefs? I forgot his name, but him. I think is a much more dynamic. The Tyreek Hill. Two great receivers, but Sammy Watkins is no Antonio Brown. And you know what I mean? Then they have a good tight end, but Andrews is right on his tail. I don't care what nobody say. So I think that we have an offense like the Baltimore Ravens I've never seen. I agree. Guys, and I see it, man. You know what I mean? Jerry Jeudy. Oh man. We get that. I'm gonna be scared. I'm gonna be scared for the league because I tell you what though. I tell you what. Let's dial this back a little bit. Let's dial this back a little bit. If we get Jerry Judy, Antonio Brown, Hollywood, Mark Ingrams, Gus Arrow, and don't forget Justin Hill coming out that bathroom. I guarantee he's working on his hands because you know him and Ingram, Gus is going to work on their hands because they know what type of offense this is, and they know what puts Mark Ingram above them, and that's the ability to come out the backfield and catch. At some point in time, could that be too many? Too many. It could be too many people, too many options. I mean, yes and no. It could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. So sometimes, when you the only great receiver, you're getting the ball. It makes it a simple quarterback and going to read it, but it also makes it simple for the defense. But when you have a majority of it, it makes it for that defense so hard, and it forces Lamar. Even though I believe he's a true quarterback, it's going to force him to really, really say, you know what, I don't have to run as much, which is going to prolong his lifespan. It's going to prolong his quarterback his career because now he can just work that underneath because ain't nobody letting AB and Hollywood run deep. They're gonna play them safeties is gonna be on edge the whole game. They're gonna be so uncomfortable having to do so much or watch. It's gonna be too hard to stop. That's why the Chiefs can be down 20. They can be down 20 in a quarter. They can explode because there's so much pressure on that defense to be perfect. Like, I'm a boxing fan. We've seen it. We got videos on it. Deontay Wilder says this thing, and I believe that it's going to come down to and it kind of parallels the phrase, parallels to the Chiefs, and it's going to parallel the Ravens this year. The other team has to be perfect the whole game. We only have to be perfect less than that, simply because our defense is great. It's going to be great, and it was great last year. And once we get hot, it's up to that defense, man. That there are not many defenses can handle us. So that defense got to play perfect for all 60 minutes, 90 minutes. They have to be perfect the whole game. Not many teams can be soundproof perfect. They start messing up and turnovers and get frustrated and getting tired. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. It becomes a track meet. We're gonna just run all over teams. So I'm excited about it, man. Mark Ingram. Let's get back to this. Mark Ingram said he was excited. Let's go. He wants it. He's excited about Mark Ingram. He's excited about AB because he understands what type of talent that AB can bring and how much pressure. There's no way you're gonna crowd the box. And this is a running football team. This is a running football team with backs that can catch. Man, I don't know about y'all. I've been watching this team for over 20 years, man. I swear, last year, this year, I've never been more excited to see what the offense is going to do. I remember years, I'm like, oh, man, we got a stacked defense. Rex Ryan about to run Rex shop on the league. And Rex Ryan, when Rex Ryan get pissed, he don't care about coverage. He's blitzing the whole team. He's like, hey, third and one, send everybody. But now it's like, oh, man, 3rd and 9, 4th and 4, Hobbs going for it. Now it becomes, man, this is really a changing of the guard for this team. This team is not the same. This team is not the same as the early 2090 Ravens. We on edge since 2012. We on edge and say, hey, the offense has taken over. We have become more interested in what the offense is going to do versus the defense. We can sign all we want, but the minute Lamar Jackson puts that ball in his hand, that's when the electricity gonna fill that stadium. And knowing that he has something that Joe Flacco, Steve McNair, Elvis Gerbach, Kyle Bowler, what was this guy's name? I always say his name. I forgot his name. All those quarterbacks, Redmond, all those quarterbacks, Hardball, they've never had this type of offense. Even when Ray Rice played, we had Willis McGahee, we had Ricky Williams. Remember, we had Jamal Lewis and Priest Holmes? Man, we've never had this type of offense, y'all. So this is unprecedented. It's just like the coronavirus for the Ravens, man. This is unprecedented territory that we are witnessing. Now we're seeing something that, hey, man, Finally, that black and purple, it's excitement, man. Let's get these jersey sales up, man. It's excitement, man. Get your memorabilia, put it on your cars. Let people know that that black and purple, man. We here, man. We here, man. So Ingram, he pumped up. He like bring on AB, bring on AB. I was watching Ingraven. Shout out to Ingraven Raven, man. He said something, and he says if one person talking about AB can bring down your locker room wasn't that strong. That's facts. That's facts. If we always worried about what AB gonna do in the locker room, then that means that we didn't have a strong locker room. We didn't have a strong locker room if we allowed this man to tear down his locker room. If Eric DeCosta is smart enough, he gonna put in a contract to say, you know what, man, uh, here we assign you a 1 year contract, a show me year, and in this contract, you can accept it. We'll give you the money, but it's all determined on your behavior. You start complaining about the ball, you start talking about the organization, you start talking about the quarterback, you start talking to the media, you're gone. If he can agree to that, that'll let us know where his mind is, which is will be on football, and that will let him know that he understands that he's not going to get 100 catches a season. He's not, that's not this type of football team. You're not going to get 100 balls. You may get 50. You may fuck around and get 70. I doubt it. That's not going to happen. You may get 60, but with Mark Ingram being that close to no Mark Andrews being that security blanket for Lamar Jackson, and then you got Hollywood on the other side, and Ingram coming out the backfield, you're not getting close to 100 catches. He has to be okay with that, especially at that age in his career. He has to understand that he is never going to be the focal point of the offense ever again. That's facts. So if he can agree to that, I'm with Mark Ingram. Bring it on. Bring on AB. Okay. Anybody see that Derek Wolfe interview? Godson, you see that Derek Wolfe interview? Um, I did, and I thought it was good. It was good to hear him talk. It was good to hear him talk about how he ate breakfast with Joe Flacco, and hearing stuff from Doomerville and Flacco, and even before this, he was like, "Yo, send me to the Ravens." That lets you know the organization, man. That lets you know the type of organization that we got every year, man. You hear people saying how great they love the Ravens, man. They love playing. They love playing for the Ravens, man. They hear nothing but great things, and I love it. I love it, man, because no matter how bad we are, we've been watching this for 20 plus years now. The Ravens will rebound. Unlike teams like the Clowns, like the Cleveland Clowns, like teams like Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, can go years and years and years with blackouts not showing on TV and just terrible records, not signing good bad contracts. That's not the Ravens, man. That's not the Ravens way. Steve Bisciotti, oh man, we want to win. We want our name to be great. He talked about how he thinks that our defense can be historic. Maybe, maybe, maybe. When we got when we got that free safety in the offseason, the free safety from Seattle, everybody talked about how um everybody talked about how it's gonna be, oh man, picks is going up. Picks is going up. But he had a quiet year. Tom's had a quiet year. Um, I think that sometimes, like the Browns trade with Odell Beckham, you have to look at it and say, you know, let's first be healthy for the season before we start talking about, having a historic defense. Um, I think that the Ravens have had many historic teams, defenses in the past, but didn't win a lot of games. Think about those early Ravens. I mean, I just think that we have to. We don't want to be the Browns of last year. You know, we don't want to be the Browns of the Browns last year who talked all that stuff, about uh, about how great they're going to be. They're going to win the division. They're going to do all this stuff, and nothing happened. Earl Thomas, he had a very quiet year. You didn't see many deep passes, so that means he did great. That means he did good. But sometimes we have to take the pressure and we have to quiet that talk, man. Let's not go for great defense. Let's go for healthy defense because we know that when we're healthy, that translates to being great. If we go out there and just go balls to the wall, a lot of times we can mess around and be unhealthy. We can get hurt. So I'd rather have a healthy defense presence for 17, 16 games and playoffs. You know what I mean? Over let's just go out there and just try to do too much. Let's learn the system, Wolf. I get it. We have a lot of pieces. We have a lot of pieces, man. But you know what, man? There's certain positions, one injury, man, and that is the weak spot of the defense. These teams, man, are going to study Wink. They're going to study Wink hard because they know that, hey, this is a dangerous football team. This is a dangerous organization. A dangerous organization, man. Those are the teams that you really study because when they're going to do their homework in a draft. They're going to do their homework when after the draft picks. They're going to do homework when a lot of veterans get released on the off season. Oh, before OTAs, they're going to do their homework. Hey, I'm go to bed, my kids. Um, they're going to do they're going to do some homework, and the Steelers, the Browns, the Bengals, they're going to study that. So I get it, Derek. I get it. We have the potential to do a lot of things, but potential never won a championship. Actually being healthy and actually playing on the field won championship. So, thinking that we can have a historic defense, let's see if it gels. Let's see if we can translate your game to reality. Let's see if like that passion that you bring in, that energy that you're bringing now, let's see if it can translate and play well with Brandon Williams, play well with Calais Campbell's, play well with Judon, play well with Jalen Ferguson. Let's see if that runs off. Let's see if we can stay healthy. Because when we start thinking above of what we got and thinking we're gonna be all historic and stuff, because I swear like 2 years ago we thought we was about to be everything. Oh, we have a chance to be this and that. But it didn't happen. When the last time we won a Super Bowl? So let's curb those things, man. Shout out to Willie Snead, proposed to his fiance. Congrats, man. There's nothing better than what I mean. You know what I like, man. I like seeing players have a life outside of football, beyond travels, beyond the celebrity status. But when they show a little bit of, they show being human. When they can show being human, man, and you can see the little human details upon them, proposing, getting down, and some family and friends around him. You don't know where they at, man, but you just see it. You can understand, man, that is a happy time. And whenever you can see a football player whose life is designed of getting punishment and training crazy, when he's in a moment when he can happy and try to set his life in order, congrats, man. You can't do nothing, man, but salute that brother, man. Hey, salute Willie Snead on his proposal. The footage of Lamar Jackson working out with Hollywood, Antonio Brown, and Jerry Judy. What if? What if? Is it possible? I don't think so. But it would be nice. It'd be nice to dream, man. It would be nice to dream, man. Jerry Judy, man, he's somebody that most Ravens covet. Most Ravens covet, and most Ravens in the back of their mind think like, hey, there's no way. There's no way unless a trade happens, unless unforeseen things happen. There's no way Judy's going to work his way all the way up to 28. There's no way. There's no way. But just imagine. Just imagine. Give yourself 5 seconds when you get some time and just imagine who would the defense focus on? Who would it focus on? You know what, man? A lot of times, I said the last video, we don't give enough credit for our new wide receiver coach. Oh man, this is his second year. We forgetting about Boykins. We forgetting about Scott. These are giants, 6'6", 6'5", big boys. And you got Ingram, Andrews, some rookie, Snead, and a speedy Justin Hill working out that backfield. What are you gonna do? What do you do? And you got the man, the myth, the legend, Lamar number 8 Jackson as quarterback. Who do you focus on? Who's the number one? Who's the primary target in that scenario? Who do you put your best man on? That's a scary lineup, man. That if we can mess around and get that center and our right guard situated, man, man. Shout out to Four Horses Whiskey, Bourbon. I like that, man. Alpha male. You know what I'm saying? I like that. You on the beam? Y'all see this behind me. Y'all see this behind me. Shout out to Engraven Raven, man. I kept looking at the back of his doggone videos and seeing all that doggone memorabilia he had. And I said, you know what? I'm tired. I got to get me some. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I'm in this move, man. I got a lot of my Ravens jerseys not here with me. So, I'm trying to do what I do, man. I'm trying to do what I do. Thanks to people like Godson. Appreciate y'all, man. Really, really support the channel, man. Tell your friends, share it, subscribe it, comment under the videos, man. We trying to build this thing. Every single Ravens contact, especially OTAs and training camp. Oh, we're gonna be on it, especially the draft. I love the off season, if not more than the regular season. There's some parts when the regular season come, I'm already focused on the off season. You know what I mean? Because I'm starting to see what we need and what failed and what didn't fail since OTA. So I appreciate you, man. I really do. Salute to you, man. Shout out to what's the B word as well, and what's it called? FT Ravens or something like that, man. He has a good show as well, man. So salute to better than last year. We don't have Brockers. We have Calais Campbell. We have Derek Wolfe. We have a second year with Earl Thomas. Second year with Marcus Peters. We don't have no for sure starting middle linebackers, and Yonda has left. And a second year with Ferguson, a second year with Hollywood, and a year when Lamar isn't so focused on learning to do footwork, but now he gets to work on his accuracy. I wouldn't say it's better. I would say it's more comfortable. In a sense of last year, the rest of the offense, if you take Lamar out of the equation, the rest of the offense didn't know the jump Lamar was going to make. They could hope. They didn't know how the offense was going to perform. They can hope. They didn't know how they was going to use the playbook. They can hope. They didn't know who was going to be the number one target. They can hope. They didn't know how good the line was going to perform. They can hope. They didn't know how the defense was going to perform without C.J. Mosley. They can hope. Now they know. Now they know. So go to bed. So now they know how they have the potential and the talent level they have to compete, and not only compete but really dominate. Are they better? I think they're more comfortable. A lot of what ifs is put to bed. Now it's smaller what ifs. Can we survive without Yonda? Can Chuck Clark continue this for over 16, 17 games? Who's going to be our middle linebacker? After that, they sort of have an answer for it. So I think the list of what ifs is smaller, or I don't know, is smaller because they know that the type of playbook they have, they can be successful. And they know that Lamar can throw the rock. They've seen it in practice. They've seen it all through those games that he played his first year. But being the man and having teams game planning for a whole season and playoffs, they've seen it now. Now they can say, you know what, man, We don't never have to question that again. Let's move on. Are the Ravens better now? If the Ravens would play themselves last year, could they win with this current roster? I think it would come down to the center position. I do. Because I think that Bozeman can be a better right guard than Murkey can be a center. Even though Bozeman hasn't played anything. I know that sounds weird, but I think that Bozeman's pedigree and what he can bring to the table will be less of a drop off than Murkey can do over 16, 17 games of what Skur was able to do. I don't know. Maybe I'm nitpicking. I just believe in that right guard position over the center position. I don't know, but I would like to get some depth in that. So, do I think they're going to be better? Yes, I do, because I believe that this team is designed to get more pressure on quarterbacks than last year. So, and Lamar is going to be more healthy. I'm not Lamar, but Hollywood is going to be a lot more healthy. So, I do believe that this year's already is going to be better. It's going to be more mature. It's going to be more sure of itself, and teams are going to be more intimidated than saying, "Oh, it's just a fluke." I think teams is going to be really intimidated because they know that hey, ain't nobody can go 14-2 against grown men and that be luck. Ain't nobody can throw. What do you throw for 36 touchdowns? Nobody gonna do that, and it just be luck. So I'm excited, man. I am really excited for what we're about to do and what's ahead. I'm really excited for um, you know, I'm just really excited, man. I'm just really excited, man. And I just salute to everybody who's supporting this channel, man. We 100% Ravens. This is a Raven only. I want to try to set something in the future, man, with a good friend of mine. I'm originally from Ohio. A good friend of mine who's a diehard Browns fan, and I'm gonna try to set up something on when we can do a joint on the Browns roster. You know what I mean? See how they come along and and what they need to improve on. And we can talk Ravens and Browns because it seems like as of now, it seems like those are the two hot topics in the AFC North. You have the Steelers, they have Big Ben, but they kind of been quiet. The Bengals is, they signed some free agents, but nobody expects them to do a lot. You know what I mean? Their talk is gonna come after the draft, after we see which quarterback they're gonna draft. But right now, as of right now, it's the Browns and the Ravens. They looking at Clowney. The Browns looking at her. They're looking at Clowney. I think that'd be kind of serious. That'd be kind of serious. Miles Garrett, and Clowney. Man, that's something serious, man. That's something. Hey, that's better than Watt and Dupree. Garrett and Clowney is way better than a TJ Watt or whatever Watt for the Steelers and Dupree. That's a better tandem. That's a more deadly tandem. So I'm more intrigued about what the Browns roster has against the Ravens versus the Steelers. Like, there's nothing like, I don't care what nobody say. I don't care what the record is. I don't care if every single team is, 6-9. There's no division like the AFC North. It's so physical. It's so scary. It's so unpredictable at times, man. I just think it's the toughest division of all the sports. In all the sports, man. I've been saying this for years, man. There's no division like the AFC North. So your roster has to be really different. And I believe that roster, if you put them in any division, I don't care what team it is, they're going to propose a massive threat to that other division's number one team. I do. I do. I think it's very hard to win in the AFC North, man. So, that's all I got for the Ravens, man. The other thing I wanted to address is you have the coronavirus, man, and this channel is all about male masculinity, bringing back the masculine man, the masculine black man, the masculine alpha man. Now you have this coronavirus. I look worldwide. It's been like 1 million people died. It's been almost what 400,000 people infected here in America. 9,000 deaths. How you treat how is it going with your family? You know, as you look at your family, are you surviving like you could? Are you prepping for this pandemic as you should? You know what I mean? What is the difference between an epidemic and a pandemic? You know what I mean? So let's just look at it for a real. When you're dealing with an epidemic, that's a localized, a smaller outbreak of a disease that is normally, happens in that particular area. When you're dealing with a pandemic, it's more of a disease outbreak over a large, large, large area or man mass or country or something like that. So you're dealing with one that is affecting a larger area. So, you're looking at the stores and you're saying, well, why are people buying all the toilet paper? Why is there's no meat? I can barely get any turkey products. I can do none of that type of stuff because they understanding that this pandemic is a lot more serious than what we've been hearing as an epidemic, right? And you haven't had any type of really consistent talk from the news, the media coverage. So it's like nobody knows what to do. Now you're supposed to be the alpha man for your house. You're supposed to be a real man for your house. Now I know in society today they try to suppress that manhood in you. They try to suppress that need to go out there and hunt and provide and be masculine and let that testosterone build and grow and be rough to you know what I mean, to scuffle. They try to suppress that. They want you to be docile. They want you to be quiet, and they pushing it like, oh, this and that, and there's more women doing that, and that's a beautiful thing. But on TV, they don't ever show a real masculine man that's really leading his family to victory. They don't see that. So this is what this show is about. We're about bringing about the masculinity of the black man. We're about being the masculinity of manhood. So in a severe pandemic, stores and services may be closed due to quarantine rules or the lack of staffing to run them. That can mean limited access to food, medication, fuel, and it can mean power blackouts if local generated stations aren't properly managed. So let me ask you something. If there is a blackout, if the stores are closed, if they will shut out the electricity to your home, could you survive? How long could you survive? I think that the problem is we like, oh man, we need to be independent. The government's got to be out of our pockets and blah blah blah. But if you really sit back and humbly think about it, if they would shut off the power, how many of us would need the government to feed us? Because your refrigerators is only going to last your food for so long with the power out. They're going to get real warm in that refrigerator. In ancient times, they used to either salt their meats or dig a hole and put the stuff down the hole to keep it cool. Do you know how to do that? Do you know how to cure your meats? You know how to dry them out? Do you know how to preserve your food? That's real stuff, man. That's real stuff. We can talk all we want to, man. We can talk about how, whether you like Obama, whether you like Bush, whether you like uh, what's his name, Trump. You can talk all that type of stuff. But what if they shut off all the electricity? What if they shut off the water? What if the water ends up like Flint, Michigan? How do you purify the water? If you have a wife and kids, could you survive during a pandemic when viruses is rampant? You can't really trust your neighbor. You really like, hey man, I don't know who has this. You're literally in what they would call a zombie apocalypse. I know that makes it sound so much unbelievable, but just think of the zombie apocalypse of, you can't go near this other person without being infected, right? Forget a bite. You can't go near them without them coughing or catching it through breathing it. Could you survive that? Okay, so you would naturally try to stay away from them because of your family. What if your wife is pregnant? What if your daughter has a disease that she really can't get sick? What if she's allergic to mosquitoes and it causes her legs to swell up at night? Are you prepared for that? Who's talking about that? Who is the leaders in your family or your community that's saying, "Hey, bro, you know what I mean? Somebody needs to be keeping an eye out on say, hey, when do we know it's time to go out and pitch a tent in the woods? When is it going to go out there? When is it time to go out there and go hunt and stock up meats?" See, they pass all these rules and they say that we're helping out you know the what's it called the housing and the mortgage crisis, and we're doing all this type of stuff because of this pandemic. But what about hunting? What about hunting? If we still can't hunt, if you still can't go out there and get the foods that you need, could you survive? Are you worried about which animals you can kill at a certain season when or if it all hits the fan? Okay, at least 3 weeks of food or canned or dried foods are best, as frozen can be risked during a power failure. That's what we talked about, right? Do you have 3 weeks of food or canned or dry? I know in South Carolina, I went to go buy some canned salmon, right? Because I'm doing this whole keto diet. I'm doing this keto diet with intermittent fasting, right? When I went to buy 2 cans of salmon, you know what they told me? They says only two at a time. Now they're putting limits on how much food you can get at a time. If they doing this now, what would happen if it got a lot worse? What would happen? At some point in time, you have to think rationally and say, you know, I don't know what would happen. What if, like, for instance, we're in this apartment, right? And our freezer and our refrigerator is really small. We can't store a lot of food in there. How the hell can we, survive for more than 3 or 4 months if we don't have the space to store food? That's real stuff. That's real stuff. So then the question now becomes, is your livelihood more of a chance to survive if you leave this area where you can't really store food, or do you pitch a tent in the wood and you take your chances with fishing and hunting? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that becomes a question that you must ask yourself on which which idea makes more sense. Because if I'm in the middle of city, I'm in the middle of Atlanta, I'm in the middle of Charlotte, I'm in the middle of New York, and my refrigerator is small, the power went out, I can't store food. Is it best to survive in that little space? Or is it, hey, it's time to leave this area and go somewhere where there is food and water and I can provide from my own shelter? It's facts. That's facts. Which one is better for your family? Enough clean water for the same period, or access to clean private water source? Listen, most of us grew up in the city, and the only outside source we know is well water. Okay? Don't nobody or most of anybody in the city know anything about taking dirty water, polluted water, and how to filter it to make it drinkable. They don't know that. They have no clue. They've never even thought about that. How do you filter this water to make it drinkable? How do you know which water is drinkable? You can literally be in a field full of freaking food, which are plants, which are what you call weeds, and it's all edible and starve to death because you don't know. You ever think about that? The alpha male should know how to survive in any terrain. In any circumstances, he should be able to think and say, okay, I've studied this. I know hand-to-hand combat. I know plants. I know animals. I know what is edible. I know how to do this all. I know how to survive. You can't call yourself a man and look for another man to survive to make your survival based on somebody else that's not even in your family. At some point in time, now you're only surviving off the fact that you're a male. You're only your success is that I'm a male, and maybe she don't know that I don't know shit, or she don't know that I never thought about shit, or she don't know that I'm scared out of my damn mind, more scared than she is. And your kids is looking at you like, hey dad, what do I do? That'd be a hard pill to swallow, to say I think we're gonna die because of my lack of knowledge. That's crazy. That's crazy, man. Camp stove or barbecue, something to cook on, candles, flashlights, portable radio, supply batteries, heavy work gloves, matches, source of heat. Do you have a source of heat? You ever watch Naked and Afraid? And you have these guys who've been training for years. They've been training for absolute years. And, they're like, hey, I've been training and all this type of stuff. And when it comes for them to be on that show, they can't start the fire the way they think. And the first thing they say is the humidity is stopping the fire from going. You prepared for that? Have you went out there and got you a Flintstone? You went out there and have you some lighters, some matches, something that can say, hey man, instead of having to do the saw wood situation to start the fire, hey, we can just try to get some lighter fluid and we can try to get something to light it. We set that aside just for this particular situation. You got to think, man. You got to think, man. Sometimes, like Mike Tyson said, everybody got a plan until you get hit. Everybody got this plan, I'll be all right, until that shit jumps off. Then you can't even, what you thought in your mind it was easy to do was start a fire. You start to realize because of the humidity, you can't even start the damn fire. Or because of the rain, because you barely know how to build a makeshift shelter. The rain is coming there and it's burning out your matches. Now what? Now what? How do you sleep elevated off the ground so the bugs don't eat you? When I was in Georgia, I was going to go to this wilderness survival training, and the guy had told me something because I had this big garden, and he said you have to find some people that really are going to sign a paperwork to be able to to want to do it. He said because what happens is, he said I used to take people out all the time, and they would spend a night. But what happened is they started finding out that Georgia has these little teeny tiny mites that only come out in the summer. And a lot of people didn't know about it. And they just sleep on the ground and they didn't know about these tiny mites that's real bad for you in Georgia. And it made me think, man, who would think about that? Who would think about that situation? It's easy to say I know what to do versus when you talk to somebody who does it for a living and they tell you the ins and out of the game. Your first aid kit, your hygienes. Hopefully you're able to take a bath, the toilet paper, garbage. What if there's no more toilet paper? What if you got to use leaves? What if you got to wash up in the river? You ready for that? Things to keep a family amused or to keep their hopes up. That's something that you have to think about because your wife, your kids, your daughter, they may be hysterical. Can you keep your can you maintain sanity to not to be arguing and bickering because you may not have the answer and they looking for an answer and they're not satisfied with what you're giving them? Sometimes we have to think about when I was in the military, I'm a Navy vet. And one thing my master chief he would always, drill into our heads. What we see back home has already been happened. They knew about it well before we did. So what I was seeing overseas, my family wasn't going to get for weeks, days later. I've already seen it. So what we see now maybe is what slowly they're starting to release. You may not be getting the full picture. It may be a much larger situation because you start thinking, oh, this week is going to be a way worse week. But how do you know what it's going to be? How do you know how much more people are going to be affected? You can assume, but to make that statement as if you know tells me like, what do you know that I don't know, or what do you know that you're not telling me? On how you know how many more people are going to be affected this week? How do you know that this is about to be the roughest week? How do you know next week ain't going to be rougher? But to say that this week is going to be the roughest week, how the hell do you know that? How could you make that statement? What are you not releasing? Would you trust your family in the hands of people who are not releasing the full information? I don't know, man. That's up for you to decide, man. Um, that's that's a deep statement, and I just think that we have to really, really be cognizant on who we listening to, and not just 100% trust on what we hear on TV. We have to take it upon ourselves to really think about, as a man, as a real alpha man, a man's man, to say, hey, no more, no more docileness, man. No more slumberness, no more laziness. How would my ancestors survive? What would they do? You know, but you know, I understand we got to go to work tomorrow, man. So again, I appreciate y'all, man, being involved. I appreciate y'all, man. Just something to ponder upon. I had a lot more to talk about on, on like stuff like this, man, about this pandemic and preparing and stuff like that, medicines and antibiotics, and you know what I mean? Like, I just think that sometimes, you know, I think that sometimes we have to be able to read between the lines, and we have to be able to be cognizant on what we're being told, and we have to think that, hey, let's not just trust them 100% in what they tell us, man. Let's be proactive, man. But again, this is Black Man's Thoughts. Hey, man, y'all be safe. Continue to wash your hands. Shalom, shalom.